just kept on talking about God's love, and I thought that was so cool. Hey guys, welcome back to Faith in Rainbows. Basically, for the past month, God has been leading me to read the book of Revelation, and I made it all the way to chapter 11, and then God told me to kind of take a pause. So I started asking him every day, God, what do you want me to read? What do you want me to read today? And so each day he would lead me to a different verse to read. It turns out that every single one of the verses were in John. And I do remember whenever I read the verses in John, every single verse was teaching me about God's love, about how much he loves us, how much he loves us because he sent his son Jesus. It just kept on talking about God's love. I wanted to read you some of those verses today. John 10:10 says, "The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep." And I'm just kind of skipping around in John chapter 10 because he led me to different verses, just random verses out of chapter 10. "To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow them, for they know his voice. I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and am known by my own. As the Father knows me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. Therefore my Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This command I have received from my Father." Now we're going to go to another couple of verses that are in John chapter 13. "Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew his hour had come, that he should depart from this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end." That part really got me. He loved them to the end. And I wrote beside that Proverbs 17:17, which says, "A friend loves at all times." Okay, let's read a little further down. "Then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said to him, 'Lord, are you washing my feet?' Peter answered and said to him, 'What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will know after this.' Peter said to him, 'You shall never wash my feet.' And Jesus answered him, 'If I do not wash your feet, you will have no part with me.' Simon Peter said to him, 'Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head.' Jesus said to him, 'He who is bathed needs only to wash his feet, but is completely clean, and you are clean, but not all of you.' For he knew who would betray him, therefore he said, 'You are not all clean.'" That verse right there that says, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will know after this." I don't know, it's just kind of one of those verses that a lot of people talk about, and it's like, what I'm doing now you don't know, but I'll reveal it to you eventually. And I've always known that verse, and I've always loved that verse, but I didn't know that it was right here when he was washing the disciples' feet, and I thought that was so cool. And I wrote beside that, "What a friend we have in Jesus." I'm going to read a couple more. John 15. "I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing." I love that part. I love that part because for Christmas, you have the tree and then the little branches on the tree that you decorate. I love that because right beside that I always see, "I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing." And then you skip down to verse 9. "As the Father loved me, I also have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments." I love that because I've always heard that verse as well. That's abide in Jesus. And he's always abide in me, abide in me. I thought, okay, yeah, abide in him. But I didn't really realize until I skipped down. I've never read that before until I skipped down, and he said, "As the Father loved me, I also love you." He kind of wants us to abide in him so he can love us, he can truly love us. It's kind of I almost feel it's the people that you are with, you're able to love them more, the people that are you're physically with. Jesus, when you're with him, when you're resting in his presence, when you're resting in him all day and you're abiding in him, he can bless you and he can talk to you and he can speak to you and he can bless you. But if you're like running away from him and you're running and running and running, like, yes, he can chase after you, but versus when you abide in him, it's a lot more, it's like a surrender. You're surrendering to him, and when you do that, he's able to love you because you're allowing him to. Like, God loves you whether you allow him or not. When you surrender to him, it's being able to accept that love that he's already giving you. So I just love that. Like, when you are abiding in Jesus, you're also abiding in his love. He's like, abide in me. It's kind of like, I can take care of you, like, stay with me and I'll take care of you. I'll love you, I'll cherish you, that type of thing. And so it's like, I'm the vine, you are the branches. He even tells you what will happen when you abide in him. And then he says, abide in my love. Like, he's like, abide in me, like, I love you. So then I realized that all the verses that whole entire week I had been studying were about love. And I was like, wow, that can't be a coincidence. So I asked God, like, why he did that, like, what does that mean? And he revealed to me that, remember how I said that all those verses were in John about love that I had been reading that week? God told me that, remember how John is the disciple whom I love? When I read John, I will read about how God loves me. Just think about that. John is known as the disciple whom Christ loved. Like, that's kind of like what he's referred to as. And so when you read John, of course he's going to write about God's love because, like, that's who he's referred to as. And so when you want to read about God's love, read John. Like, I think that's so cool. And then I wrote this last thing. We say love won't fix everything, but don't forget that Jesus is not only love, but he is also truth. And it talks about that in Ephesians 4:15, but speaking the truth in love may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Christ, from whom the whole body. So it just kind of goes on, but it's saying to speak the truth in love. I think that's so cool. Like, God is love and he loves you, he loves us, he loves his children and his people. If you want to get to know him on a personal, intimate level, I think that the Gospel of John would be a great place to start to personally get to know him and how much he knows you. And anyway, so I hope that blessed you. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!